Good morning, student. We are going to discuss the first chapter of class 12th, bricks, beads, and bones. We have explained some of the concept in the class. As you know, we explained why this culture is called Harappa. And we also explained the meaning of the term culture. We discussed their subsistent strategies, whether they were farmers or hunters. We have discussed that traces of food grains found from various sites of Harappa, it suggests that they were the agriculturists or farmers. At the same time, archaeologists discovered bones from various sites of Harappa, including bones of fish. It suggests that they domesticated the animal or they were hunters. Then we have explained in the class the agricultural strategies or technologies they adopted. We discussed that there were evidence of plowed land. Seals and terracotta sculptures prove that they used bull for plowing the land. Different types of drains also they discovered. Canals and wells were made for irrigation purposes. Then we discussed about an urban culture that is called Mohenjo-daro. And Mohenjo-daro was the first urban center. There we have explained the cities were well planned. The settlements was divided into two parts, the lower town, the upper town. And the houses were constructed with the burnt bricks. One of the important technologies they used using the burnt bricks. Roads were cut across at 90 degree. That also we discussed. Every house had a well and a bathroom. The drainage system was excellent. Then we explained what are the main features of the drainage system, how they constructed their houses, that is domestic architecture. This all we have explained. Then we come to the topic for today's discussion, that is from Mohenjo-daro, the Great Bath. What are the main features of the Great Bath? First of all, it was a large rectangular tank. It was surrounded by corridors, maybe for walking in that corridor. And from north and south sides of the tank, they constructed steps from top to bottom. Fourthly, there were rooms on all three sides of the tank. And these rooms they might have used for changing clothes or for shower. We actually do not know the purpose of these rooms. Fifthly, the wastewater was flowing to the main stream or main drainage. Each house was also having bathrooms that was connected with the main drain. The drains were covered with a big slab or stone. Maybe they used this tank for some ritual bath. It is not clear. But according to some archaeologists, they might have used this tank for swimming purpose. Then we come to the next section, is the social condition of the Harappan people. Was there any social difference or social division? We can conclude the social condition by examining two important aspects. One is the burials, second one, the materials that they used. First of all, I would like to take up the burials. They buried their dead with the jewelry and other materials. Why they buried with the jewelry and other materials? It suggested that they believed life after death. And they buried their dead in a pit. Both men and women were buried with jewelry. But we did not find any precious things along with the dead body in the pit. And archaeologists also did not find any social differences in burial pit. It's entirely different from Egypt. Egyptian kings were buried in big pyramid with precious materials, but that kind of things archaeologists did not discover in Harappa. Second aspect is the materials used by the people. If we examine the material used by the people of Harappa, the archaeologists excavated materials from different sites. Some of them were normal potteries, some of them were polished potteries, some miniature potteries also discovered by archaeologists suggesting that might be a perfume bottle. But there is no sign of any social differences or social division in Harappan society. When you talk about the next section is the craft items. Archaeologists also discovered various craft items from various sites of Harappa. The pottery, the precious stones with the different size and shapes, craft items with shell, especially they discovered these shell items from coastal regions like Nageshwar and Balakot. Then the question comes whether they had any trade connections. Archaeologists suggested that Harappans collected materials from various parts of the world. They collected shell from Nageshwar and Balakot, both were the coastal regions, one in Gujarat and other one in Pakistan, we know it. They collected copper from Rajasthan and even from Oman. So they had connections with other countries also. And the question comes, how we know that they had connections with these areas? Because the Harappan materials found from those regions and their materials also found in our regions. So we conclude that they had connections with those countries. Next aspect is the seals and sealings. A number of seals and sealings were discovered from Harappan sites. The sealings are used to seal the packet and send to other countries or other areas. And seals with some inscriptions, but it's not clear or it is not deciphered so far. Most of the inscriptions were very short and the longest consisted of 26 signs. There were about 400 signs the archaeologists discovered. The scripts were written from right to left, and they also had weights. Different kinds of weights were also available in Harappa. Then comes another question, was there any king or any ruler? Some archaeologists suggest that there was no king, there was no ruler, all citizens were equal. But other archaeologists suggest that there was one king because they say all the town's planning was under his guidance. All the buildings were constructed under his supervision. Roads and drainage were made with his approval. He maintained and promoted agriculture and craft. He controlled and maintained uniformity of weights and measures and even the seals, and he even issued coins. So these things suggest that they had a king. Finally, a question comes, how this great culture came to an end. Several theories, several suggestions, several causes are suggested, but nothing is clear about it. According to archaeologists, this great culture came to an end by flood. They suggested that a sudden flood might have submerged the town and buried it. Some of them suggest that the water from ocean also submerged and the salinated soil destroyed its fertility. Second reason suggesting that by changing the course of the river Indus, they said that the river might have dried up and there was no water supply that led to the end of the Harappan culture. Thirdly, they suggest that there was earthquake. It also probable natural calamities put an end to this culture. Another scholar says Aryan invasion. They say that the Aryans came and invaded Harappans and pushed them to southern part of India. But the most important aspect is that it appears that the unity of the people came to an end because the absence and disappearance of seals and script. Towards the end of the Harappan culture, we don't find any seals script. So it suggested that the unity came to an end. And we conclude this chapter by talking about the discoveries of various materials by various archaeologists. We start with Alexander Cunningham. He was the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. He actually began the archaeological excavations in India. He depended more on the accounts of the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims. He was followed by John Marshall, and he also was appointed as the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, and he was the first professional archaeologist. He excavated a number of sites and he excavated in horizontal units. And after excavating the units, he arranged the material, grouped them together and studied. He was followed by R.E.M. Wheeler. He became the Director of Archaeological Survey of India in 1944, conducted excavations in a number of regions in India, especially in Ch region of Gujarat, Punjab and Haryana. So he found out the vastness of the Harappan culture. Thus we have completed the first chapter and we are coming to the second chapter. I will give the assignments, try to answer those questions.